Welcome to a fabulous Thursday morning here. It is March Madness week. It is kickoff week. The play-in games are over. They start today at 12 o'clock. I hope you're ready to go. I know I am. Today on the Up and Running Pod, we're going to go over some March Madness Talman tips, some stats out there for you, but have some whip around coverage to start. It's a solo show today. It's all good. We're going to work in some March Madness stuff in the coming week. But today, let's get down, get you ready. We've got Mike's Final Four, my Final Four. We've got the Talman tips for you. We've got everything you need. You can find us on X at Up and Running Pod. You can find me at Bama Turk 46. Mike's handle is on there. Go out there, give us a follow, and check us out and see what we got to say. We will have the brackets posted next week, too, so you can follow along and see how we've been doing. But first, let's start right out the gate last week. My favorite track, or one of my favorite tracks, Bristol Motor Speedway. Danny Hamlin gets the win, one of my least favorite drivers. But they set a record for number of lead changes. What a great race. Just it's amazing how you can predict manufacturer runnings. They ran back and forth all day long, but Toyota comes through at the small tracks. Did a great job here. They finished 1-2. Brad Keselowski, who's had a strong start to the season, he did really well. He finished in third. Busch finished way in the back. Only 5 cars on the lead lap, which kind of makes you look at it on paper like, man, what a crappy race. But it was a really good race there in the middle part. I really liked it. Thought it was enjoyable. So this week they're at the Circuit of the Americas. Got a road course out in Austin, Texas. Should be a good time. Always fun. I believe they've got some special not special drivers, but they've got the guy that won he ran one race last year and won. His name's leaving me. But anyway, should be good this week. We'll see. But they come to Richmond next week, which is our local track here in Virginia. It's a short track, just like Bristol and Martinsville, the other 2 Virginia tracks. So good racing there. Hopefully Kyle Busch can go ahead and finish a race at the top, get his win for the season so he can move forward. Big horse racing this weekend. You've got the Louisiana Derby. You've got the Jeff Ruby Stakes. And next week, Mike will recap those, see if anything has changed with his Derby prep, picking horses and things like that. But he'll be back next week to check those out for you. March baseball is here, the World Series, the Tour of the World at Seoul, South Korea, with the Dodgers and the Padres. Dodgers won game 1, and the Padres whipped them up last night 15-11. A lot of scoring out there, which is great. I'm sure the fans love it. Anything to grow the game. Definitely need it. So we'll see how that moves forward, and then the regular season should start later this week. Exciting times for baseball. Myself, and Mike just started our fantasy season, and this is my first year, so we're going to try it out, see how it goes. Great group of guys in there. Some of the guests that have been with us, Austin and Matt, were on there. Future guest Zach will be there, and Daniel Hadra. But definitely a great time Tuesday night. Just got on the Zoom and had fun talking to the guys and making picks, and really have no clue what I'm doing and hope it's fun. So any tips for fantasy baseball, throw them at me. Let me have them. Now, let's get into the time of year that everybody loves, March Madness. You can't replace just the excitement that March Madness brings. Matt Brueggemann takes off work. He sits in front of a TV with a cold beverage every year, watches all 67 games as closely as he can. And he's done this for years. I find it extremely hilarious. But it's also, you love watching it because you just don't know what's going to happen, especially the first weekend. You have 32 games, and any team can win. It used to be the 16s couldn't beat the 1s. Well, it's happened once. Not that it's going to happen again, but the 2-15 to all the way to the 8-9 game, anybody can win those games, especially when you have teams that just aren't great. It's a lot of parity in NCAA basketball right now. Matt will tell you as such. Big UNC fan, as is Mike. So they're excited. They're number 1 seed. They're excited for that. Just really have to see how it goes this season with the NIL deals and some of these teams that you haven't heard about. Um, so we'll keep you updated, keep you looking at it. First game tips at 12:15. Michigan State versus Mississippi State, which is a crazy game. That's a 50-50 game for me. And then your second game is Duquesne and BYU, and I think BYU handles them pretty stoutly. And then Creighton, Akron, and Arizona Long State, which is at 1:30 and 2 respectively. Creighton definitely comes out on top there. Arizona comes out on top. No surprises there. But we will see as we move forward this weekend. Tonight, tomorrow are the 64, and then you first round, then you move to the second round, and then follow up next weekend with the Sweet 16 for those of you that, for some reason, have been locked in a closet for years. But one of my favorite segments of the show that we have introduced is Talman's Tips. This guy is like a research machine. He is just comes out with some wild, unthinkable stats for us to look at, like what's happened over the years, especially wager-wise. How to bet your tournament. You're not going to have much time to take these into effect, but try and get them in if you can. One of the first ones, the Mountain West Conference, San Diego State, comes in at number 5 in the East. No 8 seed, 8 or higher, or excuse me, Mountain West Conference seeded 8 or higher are 3-32. So they might have a win in there, but they'd have to have like 2 or 3 to break their own conference record. Which is just wild to me. You would think the Mountain West would be a little bit better than that. But it is what it is. You know, what are you going to do? I mean, that's just the stat. 3-32. Not a good look for them. Also, it just goes to show how hard it is to win when you're not a huge conference. San Diego State's probably their best chance this year. They've got a Utah State's an 8 seed, so that doesn't really apply to them. It's a 50-50 shot there, 8 or higher. So, I mean, I don't think Utah State is going to go on a run. They can probably handle TCU, but definitely know that. So if you're betting today and you've got a Mountain West Conference and it's, you know, a high seed like that, know that they're 3-32. Know that. Talman, great tip. Number 1 and 2 seeds have entered the tournament without a preseason rank. Are 0 have made the Final Four. 0 of those teams have made the Final Four. We have 1 this year. Iowa State wasn't ranked in the preseason. Now is number 2 seed in the East. South Dakota State, no chance they make the Final Four beating UConn unless UConn has some type of major malfunction. So you got to look at it as if they weren't ranked preseason. I mean, how often do teams improve that much? It's not some surprise where, you know, a poor professional team can sign players and all of a sudden get better. That'll come in the offseason. So Iowa State, good luck. Zach Corbin with the Iowa State Final Four pick, just absolutely wild. 2011, so games played before 1 o'clock since 2011. The first half under is 62%, hit 62%. So you've got a few of those games each day. Take advantage of it. Parlay them, make some money there. And in a lot of these games, I don't think Michigan State and Mississippi State will make the first half over. So that's definitely a good under pick there. Definitely some betting nuggets for you guys out there. We'll save that one for last. I think that's a big one that you can look at a little bit later on. 4 seeds that are favored by 10 points or more are 19-2. That is a kind of a wow stat. And it also goes to show how close the 4 and 13 seeds are, especially this year. I think this year everybody's tighter. Like you have Alabama and Charleston. Actually, you have Alabama and Auburn, both out of the SEC West, or formerly the SEC West, which is still the West right now until Texas and Oklahoma get here. But Alabama plays Charleston. Auburn plays Yale. Yale won their conference tournament on a last-second buzzer beater. Do I think that matters? No. Do I think Yale can beat Auburn? Possibly. Again, anybody can beat anybody, but Auburn has had an up and down year. Sometimes they lay an egg. They laid an egg against Alabama, and they took advantage of it. Alabama's not a 4 seed. They're probably an 8 seed. Gosh, excuse me, guys and ladies. I'm sorry about that. Alabama and Charleston, it should be a good game. Come down to the wire. I picked Alabama. Heck, I picked Alabama to go to the tournament championship in one of my brackets. But at the end of the day, let's be real. It is Charleston. Alabama should work them, probably win by 7 or 8 points. And if they beat them, they move on to really not a hard finish. The only hard game they're going to have before they get to the Elite Eight is North Carolina. They can't hang with Carolina, you wouldn't think, but they might improve. As an analyst standpoint, I think Alabama has a chance to lose against Charleston, and then they probably run on to meet North Carolina in the Sweet 16 next week. So, you know, that's the hard part is they got to run up against a buzzsaw who's been playing really well. They have been playing poorly the last 2 months, but if Nate Oates can get them going, that would be great. As a fan, yes, you want to believe your team's going to make it all the way. Do I believe they can make it all the way? Yes, I do. But they've got to play that Alabama basketball they were playing at the beginning of the season and can't play this lay down crap they've been playing the last 2 months. But the 4 seed is, if they're favored by 10 or more, they're 19-2. So of course, if Alabama's favored by 10 or more, it'll be 19-3 until the other 3 do what they need to do. And that's okay. It's okay, guys, because we're a football school that I thought was going to play some good basketball in the conference tournament, but went 0-1. So that's, Mike was right on that. His prediction that I suck at picking has been pretty good this season. Teams that are favored by 13.5 points, so you get 13 in the hook, are 82-9 straight up. That is a great stat for you guys out there. Obviously, it doesn't happen a lot, but in 91 games, they have won 82 of them. That is a great stat to look at today before you put your bets in. Know that you pair that up with the morning games or the games before 1 o'clock, and know that they're not going to have that much scoring. 13.5. And a 100-point game is a lot different than a 13.5 and a 60-point game, which is what those early games might show. So know that the late games, you might get a little bit higher points there, some more late scoring, some late fouling, get those points up there, get to that 14-point mark you need for that. But against the spread, this was the kicker. Against the spread, though, they suck. They haven't had but one winning season since 2011, or in the last 10, since 2014. And what really absolutely kills you is they go 82-9, but can't beat the spread. So straight up, they'll win the game, not a problem. Against the spread, not so much. So just that part where I said they need to get to 14, they don't do that very often. But 82-9 straight up. So that's a great stat to have there. But here's what you really want to hear. Here's the stat. Here's the Kyle Talman tip of the week, I believe. Don't have much time to get those brackets in, folks, but if you can get them in, listen to this. In 2022, they went 44-22, the favorites did. That's 2/3 of the games played the favorites won in 2022. The funny thing is, in 2023, they did the same thing. 44 out of 66 games were won. One was a pick 'em. So what that tells you is that if you bet and you pick the right favorites, you can have a great parlay day. Obviously, right? I mean, that makes sense. But really, it's crazy that 2/3. I mean, that's a big number in a field that I feel this year. I think that number will be a little bit different. It'll be closer to, maybe 37, 39, something like that. It's a lot closer this year than it has been. Or 37-29. It's a lot closer this year than it has been with some of these teams, especially when you get down to the 6-11s, 5-12s, even the 4-13s. These are close teams. They're not that far apart. It just depends on who you want to pick and where you want to be at with them. So those are Talman's tips for the week. I thought those were the best. Some of them in there really give you some insight into what this tournament can look like. You can break down this tournament. There's a lot of guys breaking down this tournament with just crazy, absolute crazy picks going in there about why that, basically Talman's tips. And they're doing theirs in a little bit different way there, but it is what it is. Got some Final Four picks for you guys. We're going to start off right now. We're going to give you PJ Bird's Final Four picks as he just sends them in. He's got UConn versus Purdue for the championship, and Arizona and Marquette facing them respectively. So UConn, Arizona, Marquette, and Purdue. Those are his Final Four picks. Matt Brueggemann is in UConn, Arizona versus Kentucky and Tennessee. Wow. So the whole state will be fighting against each other. I mean, the Hatfields and McCoys are coming in Matt Brueggemann's bracket. Um, Matt actually had to make a change, guys. Just going through, checking these real quick. Then you have Zach Corbin, who just comes in wild with his picks. He's got Iowa State and Nevada versus Florida and South Carolina. If that hits, picks of the century right there, Zach. So wild pick there. We'll get it down to my partner in crime, Mike Mills. He's got UConn and UNC, Houston and Creighton. Great picks. And for me, I've got UConn, UNC, Marquette, and Purdue. Shaka Smart at Marquette is a absolute great coach. He gets his team ready to play. He took VCU. Excuse me. He took VCU to the Final Four. If they beat Brigham Young there, they probably go on to win the tournament. They really played great, just kind of ran into a tougher team there. But BYU handled, excuse me, not BYU. Let's look it up before I inform y'all wrong. They were in the first four that year. And they ended up beating Villanova. And it was just an amazing game. This was actually back in 2011. Lost in the championship of their tournament to Old Dominion. Then they got into the first four. Butler, excuse me, not BYU. Butler topped the Rams 70-62. And then Butler didn't even show up against Connecticut. I mean, it was a 53-41 game. So, things can happen, but Shaka's a good coach. I mean, they got a number 2 seed. They play great basketball. They play in a great conference. So we'll see what they do. UNC is just you just don't know what's going to happen. I think the way they handled Duke the last game of the season, the way they handled the championship, the way they've done what they needed to do to go win, I just don't know that they are going to get beat as far as getting to the Final Four. UConn, obviously, I mean, just one of the top teams all season, and Purdue has been too. The Big Ten isn't as scary as it used to be, but Purdue's a good team, and I really do. I don't think, go back to Marquette, I don't think Houston has what they need to get through. They might lose in the second round, realistically, but we'll see what happens there. Excited for March Madness. There's some crazy picks out there. You've got, like I said, I have Alabama going to the championship in one of my brackets, not the main one that I'm going to focus on, because I just don't think that's smart. I think they can do it. I don't know that they're the best. They're the best they can be right now. If I went through right now really quick and just go read them down the side here, you've got UConn. I'm going to take Northwestern based off name. San Diego State, UAB, probably UAB. Auburn over Yale, as much as I hate saying that. Definitely taking BYU. Illinois, Washington State, Iowa State. Just kind of a chalk one there with the exception of the UAB pick over at San Diego State. Then you got Carolina. Then you got the toss-up. Michigan State didn't play well this season. Good enough to get a 9 seed, but I just – can Talman have one more run in them? I don't know. We'll pick Mississippi State. St. Mary's over Grand Canyon, Alabama, Charleston. New Mexico over Clemson. Baylor over Colgate. Dayton over Nevada. Dayton comes out of a good conference. They're a decent team. I've watched them for years. Let's see if they can pull it off. And then Arizona. And then going up the right side, you got Tennessee, Texas, Creighton, South Carolina, Samford over Kansas. Kansas has been playing horrible. Gonzaga, Utah State, Purdue, Marquette, Florida, Kentucky, NC State, Duke, James Madison, the Dukes over Wisconsin, Texas A&M over Nebraska, and Houston. Those are my picks for the first round. The second round is a little bit different. I think Madison beats Duke. I'll just give you a couple of big upsets. Madison beats Duke. I think Nebraska's season's done. NC State over Florida. or excuse me, over Kentucky. And, everything else is pretty much chalk. Nothing really big there for me to say. I mean, Alabama over St. Mary's isn't a huge ordeal. Yeah, I just don't see anything. Auburn's going to handle UAB. They're right down the street from each other. Yeah, those are the big ones there. James Madison over Duke, and then NC State over Kentucky, I think, is a big thing. NC State's been playing well. Hopefully they've coached them up and get them ready to go. Guys, that's just some little bit of insight for me today. Mike will be back with us next week. We'll have a Sweet 16 show coming at you live, or live for us. Should have Zach and Matt on for that to kind of go over some things, maybe Austin too. But like I said, we're going to see how our brackets did this weekend and really dive in next week, the Sweet 16, and go over Zach's crazy picks. Just absolutely crazy. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed doing this show. It's a little rough without my partner in crime. Miss you, Mike. But shout out to Talman for his tips today. I hope you can use some of those. Make sure to check us out. Hit us up on X. Hope you've enjoyed today's show. Next week, we'll cover some horse racing. Baseball's in full swing. Sweet 16's coming at you. NASCAR in Richmond. By the way, it's Easter. What a great way to roll into the weekend, get you ready for all the family fun, hopefully, and just keep going. As far as do better, guys, do better. It is something out there to just put a smile on. It can make anybody's day. Just be a good person. Do the right thing. Have fun. I'll catch you next week at Bama Turk on X. Go ahead. Give me some trash talk for the picks. Please rain all over Zach's picks because those Final Four are hilarious. Anyway, have a great one. Until next time, it's the Up and Running Pod.